Good morning, everyone. This is a special emergency meeting of the City Council of the City of Port St. Lucie this September 28th, 2022 at 8:01 a.m. Madam Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Pickett?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Martin?
Here, ma'am.
Councilman Bana?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Caraballo?
Here, ma'am. Please stand for the pledge. This is public to be heard. Is there anyone that would like to address the council on non-agenda items? Seeing no one, I'll close public to be heard. Resolution 22-R109. Madam Clerk?
A resolution of the City of Port St. Lucie, Florida, declaring a state of emergency in the City of Port St. Lucie, authorizing the declaration of a curfew, authorizing the exercise of emergency powers, from providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Russ, do you have anything?
Madam Mayor, thank you. As the council members are aware, Hurricane Ian is actually coming in on the west coast of Florida, but it is a very large storm. At this point, the most recent account I saw was it's 155 mile an hour, Category 4, and may strengthen a little bit more before it hits land. The landfall is projected to be around Punta Gorda, Florida. But if you look at the satellite image, tropical storm force winds come all the way down to Martin County almost, and then go up, beyond Daytona at this point. And the projection over the day shows most of the state, with the exception of the Panhandle, at least experiencing tropical storm force winds. As of yesterday, we were projected to get 5 to 6 inches of rain over the next 2 days. Mr. Wanshank just mentioned we've had 4 so far, so I guess we'll exceed the 5 to 6 inches. And it is raining pretty hard right now.
Right.
We have localized flooding in all the usual spots. As I was driving in, Oroso is close to impassable near the intersection of Port St. Lucie Boulevard. Mayor, you mentioned you're driving in Port St. Lucie Boulevard South, which is under construction. Also, lots of water on it. For our residents particularly, would recommend, avoid anything. If you don't know exactly how much water's there, try another route, because that could be an issue. So in advance and in recognition that tropical storm, or Hurricane Ian is coming in, we are projected to have certainly high levels of rain and tropical storm force winds. Yesterday, under our ordinance that allows me to issue a declaration of emergency, I did that effective at 8 p.m. last night, and asked you to call a council meeting to affirm that declaration this morning. And that's the reason that everybody had to get out of a warm, dry bed and come in here this morning. So that declaration is for up to 7 days. Every day we will evaluate whether it should end or not. We have, since we became aware the storm was coming in our direction, we've been pulling down our canals, our ditches, trying to get capacity throughout the city. We were pretty good, but there's only so much capacity you can get when you start getting over 4 or 5 inches in a day or so. We also, our police are going, and the chief may give us an update if you desire, going to 12-hour shifts to make sure that we have people on duty to respond to issues.
Right.
And all of our departments, our facilities department, Roger is here this morning, Sherman is here, all of our facilities we've reviewed and are doing what we can to protect all of our facilities. So the specific request, Madam Mayor and Council, is to affirm the declaration, which was issued yesterday and expired at 8 this morning. So this would be, you're adopting the state of local emergency.
And as we have any more information or updates throughout the day, we'll put them on social media. We'll put them on our city website for people to be able to see what's going on.
We have set up a Hurricane Ian page. And so Ms. Brahanska is updating that and providing information. One thing, and I'll note, I had a couple questions yesterday about solid waste. As of yesterday, FCC was going to operate as long as the landfill was open. With some of the flooding and issues, they have decided not to operate today.
Okay.
So under our franchise agreement, if they miss you today, they'll come back tomorrow, assuming the weather is amenable. And they'll just push your day out, and they because their normal schedule is Monday through Friday, they'll push out to Saturday what doesn't get picked up. And, the only determinant after today, I think, is the landfill open? Because they obviously, once they get full, they have to empty their trucks or they can't pick up anymore.
Okay, so can we put that out, and
Yes,
make
we
sure
will.
that everyone knows that solid waste will not be collected today as a result of the intermittent flooding that we have around the city, and they'll resume as soon as it's safe to do so. Okay. All right, I hope everyone stays safe. As we mentioned, there's flooding throughout the city in different areas, so if you do not have to drive and go out, please stay home to protect yourself and your property. With that, is there a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 22-R109.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor, if I could just ask one other question. Russ, sometimes I know because of winds, the emergency services stop. I know that there's been high gusts in these outer bands. There's been no word, correct, that there's any potential of them stopping emergency services, paramedics, fire, any of that?
So, Billy, do you want to talk to that, or you want me to, or the chief? We had this discussion yesterday as a team. The protocols for most of our agencies that drive high-profile vehicles, whether it's a school bus or a fire truck, is between 35 and 40 miles an hour. They will come off the road.
Right.
Certainly, and even some of our bridges, and we don't have that many high-profile bridges, but they'll close at 40 miles an hour. And so that's, we don't expect sustained winds like that, but if it becomes gusty at that higher level, it is possible and probable that the agencies that drive high-profile vehicles would pull their, for safety, would pull their vehicles off the road. And either Chief or Billy, do you want to add anything?
Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. So there's kind of like Russ said, there's a cardinal rule that about 39 miles an hour, we all start not responding to non-priority calls. But I haven't talked to the fire chief this morning, but I know from past experience, high priority emergency calls, we'll do everything we can to make sure that people get the service they need. So, we've responded to emergency calls in 70, 80 mile an hour winds if we had to, but we do appreciate if people won't call about things like, trash cans or mailboxes once it gets a little sporty out there, but
Right.
we'll get it done.
And if we have to go to that, I'm sure that we'll get that information out to the public. So, thank you. Good morning.
Morning. Just to add on, we're expected, the winds haven't really started yet.
Right.
They're supposed to continue till about 6 tomorrow night, and we're looking right now at 35 to 45 sustained, with gusts up to 60. So it's a forecast. Take it for what you will, but I think prudence is called for.
Right.
And that's how I was trying to underscore your point, like people should stay off the roads because if it gets bad enough, we won't have emergency services, and so I don't want people having a.
Right. And we're at, like I said, we're at the beginning of this, so everyone needs to hunker down if they can, stay home if they can, and just pay attention to any updates and pay attention to the weather. And we will put that information out as it becomes available, and we have it to make sure everyone knows what's going on. Okay. Madam Clerk, please call for the vote.
The motion is for approval of Resolution 22-R109. Councilman Pickett?
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Martin?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Bana?
Yes, ma'am.
Vice Mayor Caraballo?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Yes, ma'am.
Stay safe, everyone. This meeting's
Madam Mayor,
adjourned. Yeah, oh, what?
I neglected to mention
Okay,
that city offices are closed.
right.
We have not closed tomorrow at this point. We will evaluate the weather probably by 1 or 2. We'll determine, should we be closed tomorrow? We certainly don't want to put our employees in harm's way, and it's a time to also reduce the amount of traffic on our streets.
Right.
But we have, at this point, the closure is just for today, and we'll evaluate, later in the day and notify the council and the community.
Great. Thank you very much. This meeting's adjourned.